I'm 100 years old, and if I could go back, there are relationships I would never have entered. Not because they were dramatic, not because they were evil, but because they quietly drained my life. People always ask me my secret to living this long. They expect me to say vitamins or walking every morning. But the truth, some of the biggest life lessons aren't about what you do. They're about what and who you choose to avoid. Today, I want to tell you about the relationships I stepped away from and how that choice gave me a calmer, healthier, better life. This channel is called Young vs. Old. It's where young questions meet old wisdom, where curiosity meets experience, and where mistakes, real ones, finally get spoken out loud. When you're young, relationships feel like everything. Friends, romantic partners, business partners, even family dynamics. You're told to hold on, to fight for people, to never give up on relationships. And sometimes that advice is right. But sometimes it's the very thing that costs you your peace. I've lived long enough to see patterns repeat, different faces, same mistakes. And today, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to tell the truth I wish someone had told me at 25Y, at 40 or even at 60. This is not a story about cutting everyone off. It's a story about choosing wisely. Let me start with the first type of relationship I learned to avoid. The ones that feed on your energy. They don't always look toxic. They don't yell. They don't insult you outright. They just take. I had a friend, I'll call him Daniel. We met in our early 30s, smart man, funny, always full of ideas. Every conversation was about his problems, his frustrations, his dreams that never worked out. I listened, I encouraged, I showed up for years. But something strange happened. After seeing him, I always felt tired, not physically, emotionally. I would go home quieter than before, less hopeful, less motivated, and yet I told myself, that's what friendship is. When I turned 50, I realized something uncomfortable. In 20 years, he had never once asked me, "How are you really?" Not once. That relationship didn't explode. It didn't end in betrayal. It simply wore me down slowly, and letting go of it quietly, respectfully, felt like opening a window after years of stale air. Here's the life lesson. If someone constantly leaves you depleted, that is information. Not drama, not hatred, just information. The second kind of relationship I avoided later in life, was staying connected out of fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of starting over, fear of silence. When I was younger, I believed any connection was better than none. That was a mistake. I stayed in a romantic relationship far longer than I should have. There was no abuse, no scandal, just emptiness. We stopped growing, stopped listening, stopped laughing, but I stayed because the idea of being alone scared me more than being unhappy. Here's something old people don't tell you enough. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness drains you. Solitude can heal you. The moment I chose peace over company, my health improved. My sleep improved. My mind cleared. And strangely, my life filled with better people afterward. The third type took me the longest to learn. Relationships that punish you for having boundaries. I grew up believing saying no was rude. That rest was lazy. That availability meant love. So I said yes to everything. Too many favors. Too many emotional burdens. Too many expectations. The moment I began saying, I can't today, or that doesn't work for me, some people disappeared, and that hurt, until I realized people who only love you when you're useful don't actually love you. Avoiding those relationships wasn't cruelty. It was survival. At 100 years old, I don't remember every achievement, but I remember how people made me feel. Heavy, light, safe, small. Your body keeps score long after your mind makes excuses, and the relationships you choose shape your life more than your ambitions ever will. There's another kind of relationship I learned to step away from. And this one is especially painful. Relationships where you are always trying to save someone. Fix them, motivate them, pull them forward. I believed for a long time that love meant effort, that if I just tried harder, people would change. I was wrong. I had a family member, someone I loved deeply. They were stuck, angry at the world, always blaming circumstances, other people, bad luck. I listened. I helped financially. I offered advice they never asked for. Decades passed. Nothing changed except my energy. Here's the old wisdom I learned too late. You cannot build a life while dragging someone who refuses to walk. Helping once is kindness. Helping endlessly is self-destruction. Walking away didn't make me heartless. It made me honest. Another quiet mistake people make. Is staying connected to people who only know an older version of you. Friends from youth. Old social circles, past identities, they don't see who you are now. They see who you were, and expect you to stay that way. I noticed this when I began changing, becoming calmer, more reflective, less interested in proving myself. Some friends didn't like that. They missed the version of me that agreed with everything, that laughed at jokes that no longer felt right, that stayed up late even when my body begged for rest. So I slowly stepped back, not angrily, not dramatically, just gently, and my life became quieter and much richer. Young people often ask me, why does letting go hurt so much? Because relationships aren't just about people. They're about memories, hope, versions of the future you imagined. When you let go of someone, You're also letting go of who you thought you'd be with them. That grief is real. But here's the truth old age teaches you. Temporary pain from letting go is better than permanent damage from holding on. Regret doesn't usually come from endings. It comes from staying too long. At 100 years old, I understand something very clearly. Time is not your most valuable resource. Energy is. There are people who will age you faster. Not with stress you notice, but with tension you carry quietly. Poor sleep, constant irritation, that tight feeling in your chest. Those things add up. Relationships shape your health just as much as food or exercise, sometimes more. If I could sit across from my younger self right now, I wouldn't lecture him. I'd just say this. Pay attention to how people make you feel after, not during. Not during the laughter. Not during the excitement. After. After the conversation. After the visit. After the relationship. Do you feel calmer or heavier? That answer rarely lies. By the time you reach old age, you stop counting how many people you know. You start caring deeply about how few you need. And in the next part, I want to leave you with a few simple takeaways. Not rules, just truths earned over time. If you remember nothing else from this story, remember this. The people you allow close to you shape the quality of your life. Not loudly, not suddenly, but slowly every day. Here are a few lessons I wish I had applied earlier, not to be perfect, but to live better. Notice patterns, not promises. When you're young, you listen to what people say. As you get older, you watch what they repeat. Apologies that change nothing. Promises that never turn into action. The same conflicts returning again and again. People show you who they are through patterns, not speeches. Believing patterns instead of potential will save you years of frustration. Peace is a legitimate reason to walk away. You don't need a dramatic excuse. No betrayal, no explosion, no villain. If a relationship consistently costs you your peace, that is enough. You're allowed to choose calm. You're allowed to choose rest. Walking away doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it means you finally listened to yourself. Distance is not the same as disrespect. This took me decades to understand. You can love someone and still need distance. You can care without being constantly available. Healthy space doesn't weaken real relationships. It reveals which ones were built on respect and which ones were built on access. Choose relationships that grow with you. Not everyone is meant to come with you forever. Some people are for certain seasons, certain versions of you, certain lessons. Holding on past that point doesn't preserve the relationship. It freezes you in place. The right people adjust as you grow. The wrong ones demand you stay the same. Being alone is better than being drained. This may be the hardest lesson to accept, but it's also the most freeing. Silence can be peaceful. Solitude can be healing. A bad relationship is not better than none. When you stop fearing being alone, you stop settling, and that changes everything. At 100 years old, I don't regret loving people. I regret sacrificing for the wrong ones. Life doesn't ask you to carry everyone with you. It asks you to take care of the one who wakes up in your body every day. That responsibility is yours. If this story made you pause, even for a moment, sit with it. Look at the relationships in your life, not with judgment, with honesty. And if you're young, remember this. You don't need to wait until you're old to choose wisely. If you found value here, subscribe to Young Vs Old. This channel exists so wisdom doesn't arrive too late. Take care of your time, take care of your energy, and choose your people carefully.